This video is to help you determine the products of a composition reaction. So that's type 1 of the 5 types of reactions. So a composition reaction, this is page 2 of the chemical reaction notes, and then the entire page is dedicated to the type of reaction composition. So this reaction is your basic chemical reaction that we think of when we think of a reaction. We have an element plus an element that's going to join together and make a compound. The color coding here, blue plus green, they just form a compound of blue-green. Every page of the notes has a little section called to predict the products. So that will give you a step-by-step that you can follow every single time to get the correct products for a reaction. I also have the little periodic table charges down here for a reminder for you. You need to use those just like we used in chapter 7 when you make a new compound. So I have my example reactions over here that we will complete. So the first one, we have Na plus Cl2. This is an element plus an element. They need to make a compound in a composition reaction. So I'm going to go to predict the products and see what step 1 says. Ignore numbers before the arrow. That means any little number that you have before the arrow, so anything in the reactants, like this little 2 here, we're going to ignore it. Do not take it with you. Students make a lot of mistakes when they kind of will go over here after and they'll just put those 2 together in ACl2. It's usually wrong, okay? So it's a safe bet every time to ignore the numbers before the arrow. Step 2, combine the element symbols. So I'm going to ignore that 2, and then I'm just going to combine my element symbols, Na and Cl. Now we're not done. A lot of students, if they do remember to like ignore the 2, they get to this point and they think that they're done, and a lot of times their answer is not right. So step 3, you crisscross the positive and negative charges of each element. Whenever you make a new compound in any type of reaction, you have to crisscross charges to ensure that you have the right proportions of each element. So you're going to look at your periodic table. You're going to find the charge for Na. So we go find Na. We go up. Our charge is +1. You're going to find Cl. You're going to go up. The charge is -1. So then once you do that, you go back to the rules of chapter 7. We crisscross the numbers. Or if they're the same number, they cancel out. So those ones will just cancel for us. And your final answer is just NaCl. Sample reaction number 2. We have Al plus O2. Element plus an element. It's going to be composition. So we go over here. Step 1, ignore the numbers before the arrow. So that 2, we're not going to bring it with us. Step 2, combine your element symbols. So my element symbols, Al and O, I'm going to combine them without the plus in between, and I'm going to ignore this little 2. And then step 3, crisscross the positive and negative charges of each element. So we're going to get our periodic table. We're going to find Al, which is here. We're going to go up, +3. You can crisscross it in your head, but I'm just writing it for your benefit. And then O is -2. This one will not cancel out. So you're not going to switch your positive and negative. You're just going to switch your numbers, the 2 and the 3. So instead of it being 3, 2, we're going to switch it to make it 2, 3 and write it down there at the bottom. So it's Al2O3. Okay, another example, K plus N2. We're going to step 1, ignore the numbers before the arrow. And step 2, combine the element symbols. So we're going to ignore the 2. Now some reactions, they won't have a number on either element. That's fine. You skip to step 2, which is to combine your symbols. So we're going to combine K and N, ignore that 2. And step 3, crisscross charges of each element. K is a +1 charge. So we're going to do K +1. And N is a -3 charge. So we're going to do -3. So then when we crisscross this, we're going to have K in. We're going to switch our 1 and our 3 and make it 3, 1. 3, 1. There you go. So this is composition reactions only.